Välkomna till Kungliga Vetenskapsakademin och den här presskonferensen då vi ska presentera årets Nobelpris i kemi. Welcome to the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences and this press conference when we will announce this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry. We will keep to our tradition and start in Swedish and then continue the presentation in English. And you are of course welcome to ask questions later on in either of these languages. Jag heter Hans Ellegren och är ständig sekreterare här vid Kungliga Vetenskapsakademin. Till höger om mig sitter professor Johan Åkvist som är ordförande i Nobelkommittén för kemi. Och till vänster om mig sitter professor Olof Ramström, också ledamot av Nobelkommittén för kemi och sakkunnig inom ämnet. My name is Hans Ellegren. I'm the Secretary General of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. And to my right is Professor Johan Åkvist, Chair of the Nobel Committee for Chemistry. And to my left, Professor Olof Ramström, member of the Nobel Committee in Chemistry and one of the experts in the field. Årets pris handlar om ett funktionellt sätt att bygga molekyler. This year's prize is about an ingenious tool for building molecules. Kungliga Vetenskapsakademin har idag på morgonen beslutat att utdela 2022 års Nobelpris i kemi i lika delar till Caroline Bertozzi, Stanford University, Kalifornien, USA. Mårten Meldal, Köpenhamns universitet, Danmark. Och till Barry Sharpless, Scripps Research, La Jolla, Kalifornien, USA. Det tilldelas priset för utveckling av klickkemi och bioorthogonal kemi. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has this morning decided to award the 2022 Nobel Prize in Chemistry in equal shares to Caroline Bertozzi, Stanford University, California, USA, Mårten Meldal, University of Copenhagen, Denmark, and to Barry Sharpless, Scripps Research, La Jolla, California, USA. They received the prize for the development of click chemistry and bioorthogonal chemistry. Professor Åkvist will now give us a short summary in English of the prize. Please, Johan.
Thank you. Click chemistry is almost like it sounds. It's all about snapping molecules together. Imagine that you could attach small chemical buckles to different types of building blocks. Then you could link these buckles together and produce molecules of greater complexity and variation. This was the basic idea behind click chemistry that Barry Sharpless had about 20 years ago. The problem was to find good chemical buckles. They have to react with each other easily and specifically. Mårten Meldal and Barry Sharpless independently found the first perfect candidates that will easily snap together, and importantly, they won't snap with anything else. This click chemistry can now be used for building drug molecules, polymers, new materials, and many other things. However, there are also other reasons for why one likes to snap molecules together. Imagine that you could attach a shining molecule to biomolecules in a living cell. Then you could follow them in a microscope and see where they are and how they move. This is what Caroline Bertozzi did, but she had to find click reactions that were not toxic to the cells. She called this bioorthogonal chemistry. Chemical reactions that don't interfere with the normal biochemistry of life. This now allows us to attach all kinds of molecules to biological ones, which can be very, very useful. Besides tracking biomolecules, it can also be used for diagnostics, for delivering drug molecules to their targets, and many other applications. So this year's laureates founded the fields of click chemistry and bioorthogonal chemistry. It has led to a revolution in how chemists think about linking molecules together and how to do it in living cells. Thank you.
And I'll leave the word to Professor Olof Ramström, who will give a more detailed presentation of the prize. Please, Olof.
Thank you so much, Hans. Thank you, Johan. So this year's award is, as Johan just mentioned here, it's about making connections between molecules in a very straightforward, selective, and robust way. This year's award is also about concepts and how concepts combined with very important discoveries really push the boundaries and make enormous impact of science and our society. So let's start with the first concept. Around the turn of the millennium, Barry Sharpless presented a new concept which he called click chemistry. And by this, he meant chemistry that was based on very special reactions that work very efficiently, were very reliable, and gave very robust products, very robust yields of products. By this type of chemistry, like Johan here said, you would be able to essentially click together two molecular building blocks in a very efficient way, in a very predictive way, and you will get a good amount of product in a very reasonable short time. Now, such reactions were not very common or very difficult to find. But one such reaction was just about to be discovered. And very shortly after this click chemistry concept was introduced, Morten Meldal and his group in Denmark, and very shortly after, Barry Sharpless and his co-workers in the US, they found one such reaction that is really remarkable. This reaction is based on an A-side functionality, as you can see to the upper left here. This is a structure which has 3 nitrogen atoms in a row. And the opposite candidate here, the opposite reactant, as we call it, is an alkyne, as you can see to the right. And this alkyne is a kind of structure where you have 2 carbon atoms that have 3 bonds between them, a triple bonded carbon. Now, these 2 reagents, these 2 building blocks, they are not terribly reactive by themselves. And if you mix them together, they will react very sluggishly with one another. And also, they will give mixtures, very often give mixtures of products. So not very good. However, what Meldal's group and Sharpless and co-worker found out was that if you add a little bit of copper 1 ions to this reaction mixture, the reaction was dramatically accelerated. And also, it only gave 1 single product. And the product is this ring-shaped, 5-member ring-shaped product called a triazole. And again, this product is also quite unreactive product, quite stable product. And it also has other interesting features that could be of interest. So in a sense, as you can see here, this particular reaction fulfilled the criteria of click chemistry. And now you had a tool where you can easily click together molecules in a very effective way. Immediately upon discovery of this reaction, and this reaction is called, as you can see down here, the copper-catalyzed A-side alkyne cycler addition reaction. Immediately upon its discovery, it gained enormous interest across chemistry and related fields, and immediately spread across all fields. And now, with this reaction, it was now, and essentially, although other reactions have been, so to say, identified and discovered after this one, this particular reaction has almost become synonymous with the click chemistry concept, and is also often called the click reaction. And you can say that it's still the crown jewel of click reactions. And with this reaction, it's now possible to build together relatively complex structures, as the one you can see here, where you can click together multiple components, multiple building blocks, click them together in sequence or in parallel, giving rise to, in this case, a star-shaped complex molecule, dendrimer type-like molecule. Now, one of the areas where people wanted to apply this reaction was in biology or biochemistry related areas. But for this reason, in these cases, when you work with living cells, copper is not ideal, and living cells don't really like too much copper. So for this reason, alternative reactions were sought after. And that brings us to the second concept. Around the same time as the click chemistry concept and these copper-catalyzed click reactions were introduced, Caroline Bertozzi formulated a concept which she called bioorthogonal chemistry. And by this, she meant chemistry that is based on special reactions that can be performed in living systems, in living cells, in living organisms, without affecting or being affected by the myriad of substances and reactions that occur in such very complex systems. As you can imagine, this is definitely not an easy task. So during the 1990s, Caroline Bertozzi had been trying to work out the chemistry and biology of complex carbohydrate structures, complex sugar structures that are called glycans, and they are often located at the surface of cells, as you can see in this picture. Bertozzi and her group had been identifying chemical reactions that could work in living systems, in living cells. For example, they had identified a way to introduce the A-side functionality in living cells and living systems. And they could do so by a type of metabolic engineering approach, where you have a sugar structure, a carbohydrate structure, which is then functionalized with an A-side moiety. And when you grow cells in the presence of this structure, this can be taken up by the cells. It can go through and be processed by the cell machinery, and finally become incorporated in the glycans that you find at the cell surface, as you can see here. Now, once this fantastic copper-catalyzed click reaction had been discovered, shortly after, Bertozzi could also identify a metal-free alternative. And you can see the alternative here. And this alternative was based on a so-called strained alkyne, as you can see. This is an 8-membered octagonal alkyne, where the alkyne's moiety is actually twisted in a sense that it becomes much more reactive. And this alkyne structure, you can then, of course, functionalize any way you want. In this case, for example, with a molecule that can emit green light. And if you then add this strained alkyne to the cells where you have this A-side functionality, these two components can click together very efficiently, and now you have labeled the glycans at the surface of the cell, and you can study where they are under the microscope. And that's exactly what you can see on the next slide here. Here you see a number of cells, and the blue part here is the cell nuclei that have been labeled blue. And you can see the green, shining green surface of the cells where you actually have those glycan structures. So these two concepts and the reactions that have been, so to say, discovered they have really had an enormous impact on science. And there's many, many widely applied across all disciplines of chemistry and related sciences, neighboring sciences.